Hello everyone, Michael back again in the Archangel 15. Thanks for stopping in as always. If you like what I'm saying here, please take the time and share these videos with your friends, your family, and other like-minded individuals that have an appreciation for the topics I talk about. Today, I want to go into a presentation on bank manipulation, specifically in the area of real estate. Over the years, there's been so much manipulation and stuff that they've controlled from a systemic standpoint that I'd have to probably take 2 or 3 presentations to go into it all. Today I want to stay somewhat focused on the pertinent ones. I really want you to understand how evil at the core these people really are. They're all pretty much tied to the Rothschild banking cartel that originated out of the UK. They've been financing both sides of every major war since the Civil War, and probably even longer than that. A great resource for all this that I've mentioned in the past is Mass Control, Engineering Human Consciousness by Jim Keith. It mentions people by name, many big affluent families, and really brought to my attention the fact that these people paid a lot of money to keep out of textbooks the fact that while we were at war with Nazi Germany, they were actually funding deep core eugenics programs simultaneously. As we know, in Operation Paperclip, a lot of these people came back to the U.S. and continued their deep core eugenics and mind control research as well. Much of the eugenics programs were given a jump start by Francis Galton. In 1869, he published a book called Hereditary Genius. This helped give birth to the eugenics movement. It's notable that he was a cousin of Charles Darwin. They believed in selective breeding, racial hygiene, mental hygiene, and believed that people who were unfit or deemed to be unfit should just be eradicated. He also notably said that he believed, or he hoped, that eugenics would become the religion of the future. Again, the book is a very good resource, and I recommend it if you're interested in what I'm saying. It goes into a lot of other stuff that they controlled and screwed with over the years as well, like DC sex trafficking and other things like that. 1895, the Fabian Society was formed in the UK, which gave birth to the Fabian School of Economics, and it's basically where we get the term Fabian Socialism from. There's a major agenda behind the banking cartels and how they're tied to the central banks and the people that print the money. They have the whole entire system rigged. Anybody that's ever gotten in their way, they basically kill or silence. When things are good, they make money tons of different ways through interest, loans, fees, investments, credit cards, etc. When things are bad, as they were in an orchestrated collapse of 2008, they scoop up everything for pennies on the dollar. Again, these people cannot lose. When you actually conceptualize how debt amortization works, you realize how bad you're being screwed on your 30-year mortgages, your car payments, your student loans, and everything, credit cards. When we have a low Fed funds rate, as we historically do now, they basically get their money for nothing. When it goes higher, they don't necessarily need to borrow the money. They can use their reserve deposits or their own money and lend it at a higher rate. The central banks manipulate the whole game and keep small countries suppressed. They try to get them to go into debt just like they do with regular people, so again, they can control them. For regular people, they use student loans, mortgages, credit cards, car payments, and so on. They manipulate currencies and commodities as well. I don't want to get off topic here, but understand that they've been manipulating real estate and working in cahoots with the realtors, the brokers, the inspectors, title companies, appraisers, and others for many, many, many years. They have the whole entire game rigged. And pretty much any desirable property comes along, they're going to be right there first to scoop it up before it even hits the market. And a side note on realtors, I really am not a big fan of realtors. I really believe that they're unnecessary. I've recently sold a property myself for my sister, and if I can do it, you can do it. I highly encourage you to try to avoid the process and the associated commission fees as well. If you've ever bought a property on credit, you would see the hoops that they make you jump through and how many times you have to sign papers and so on. If you ever bought a property with cash, you'd realize that it is a far simplified process. and much easier approach to the process. All this manipulation has basically played directly into the income inequality that we have today and the perpetuation of a two-class system that is emerging. It allows the rich to get richer and the poor to stay suppressed, with no chance of ever making it out the lower middle and lower class. Most of the wealthy elites have offshore banking accounts that allow them to be exempt from capital gains taxes, and also offers them exposure to other markets and other financial instruments. So to get to the heart of this presentation, here is a classic example of manipulation of real estate by banks. I actually learned this from a professor back when I was at a state school some years ago. I can't remember her name. I know I'm very hard on the education system in this country, but this was actually from a very good professor that I had. Years ago, and probably even still today to some degree, the banks engaged in discriminatory lending. They would allow for African Americans and other ethnicities to only gain access to certain neighborhoods. We're going to say, we're going to use a hypothetical example in my home state of Pennsylvania. Take a $30,000 mortgage in Delaware County in the area of Chester, which is kind of like a ghetto today, but years ago used to be a very nice area. Then we're going to take an upscale area in the same vicinity of like Radnor or Villanova, based in, like, say, the 1950s, the main line. In recent times, the one in Chester is still only worth $30,000, $50,000, maybe $70,000, while the one that was in the more affluent neighborhood, where only the upscale people could basically attain access to, is in many cases worth millions, $3 million and up in some cases, off like a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 loan. This is huge when you consider and understand the proportionality and other discriminatory practices that have taken place over the years. Now, in 2019, we have major issues with inheritance, and you essentially have to be born into wealth to even gain access or gain close access to these properties. As time progresses, you will see that areas like this and other desirable areas like Manhattan, North Jersey, and other beachfront properties they won't even be for sale. They'll basically be only available for people, they'll basically be passed down through progeny. This is a major issue moving forward, especially in the pursuit of the American dream. Barack Obama obviously was not the answer to this. You would think that the banks and all these antics would have stopped long ago, but there's, again, nobody to call them out on their lies and their deceit. If you get spare time, I highly encourage you to call or write President Trump and ask him where his foreign banking interests are and how long he's had them and why he hasn't gotten rid of them, even still being president of the United States. I guarantee you he has banking interests in other countries, probably Russia, and this never makes it to the light of the news. And it's very sad that we elect these cowards, people who run casinos and basically stole money from the middle class, and this is who runs our country. And as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you.